enjoying the moment. So that's kind of why I'm coming out of it. And I mean, I'll talk about it more in the collection updates, but like definitely paring down the collection to what I actually care about and what is not going to feel like work over just collecting. So I want to move on to something else so that we can spend that for collection updates. So why don't you talk about Yellies?
Yeah, I mean, this is just something interesting that I found the other day. They're called Yellies, and they're essentially like trying to sell off the success of like fingerlings. I think that's kind of what Hasbro's going for.
I was just talking about fingerlings yesterday.
Where are you?
Well, I was talking about the cast with some of my new coworkers, and I talked about how Christmas time we would do the like update on Christmas sets that are coming out, and I mentioned fingerlings, and they were like, they sound terrible. It's like they were terrible, and now they're everywhere on the shelves. They're not hard to find.
No, I know.
Yeah, it was just such a bad craze that went on.
These Yellies, I found it interesting, first of all, because like, okay, well, they're trying to sell off of fingerlings, and then second of all, these Yellies, they are, from what we can tell, it looks like 4 different spiders, like fluffy fingerlings looking spiders.
Okay.
And it's funny because it's like Halloween's coming. So like they're kind of selling toys like during Halloween for Halloween kind of in a way, like trying to
That's an interesting approach, yeah.
Because that's not, I haven't really seen, you don't see that too often. So I found that interesting. The most interesting part of this though, and what I thought would create the most discussion is that these things, I don't remember how fingerlings work. I think you like touch them and like speak to them and they sort of respond. If you remember how...
they might have done that. I just remember you wrap them around a cylinder like your finger,
and
then their head moves back and forth.
Okay, all right. These things are little tiny spiders that fit in like the palm of your hand.
Okay.
And you put them on the ground. They're like on wheels, and they respond by... they respond with noise.
Okay.
So if you make a little bit of noise, maybe the thing will like go in a little tiny circle.
Yeah.
And if you scream at it, the thing like sprints out of the room.
We should mention that these are like brightly colored spiders. They're like purple and pink and cute looking.
Like you want to pick it up and like...
Yeah, they're adorable. They're not like scary looking spiders.
Yeah, I mean, it says Yellies are the new toys your kid won't be able to stop screaming at, and that might send you running for cover.
That sounds like a nightmare.
I know, that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
I thought you'd have that same
These
opinion.
toys, man, where they just... I was like Smashers, too. This was in our last cast. We were talking about Smashers. Just all these toys that teach bad behavior and, like, encourage bad behavior. Like, I don't know, man. Would you buy these for your kid?
Absolutely not.
No?
Maybe if they, begged me, they were just like, oh my gosh, everybody has these, we need to have these. Then, maybe that might be something, I want to make my kid happy, obviously.
So they're on wheels with a little motor, and the motor listens for a big yell, and then it turns around and flies in the other direction.
Yeah, apparently they interact with each other as well. If you scream and they're like in the same vicinity at the same time, they'll like say something back and forth to each other, something like that.
Do they have their own language, or is it like English?
I don't think so.
It's like English?
I don't think I think they just make noise.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, is it like nonsense noises?
It's hard to tell because there's nothing online about it because they're up for pre-orders at this point.
Sounds like we'll have to get one.
Test
it out.
I mean, they're looks like they're retailing for $14.97 here.
Okay, that's enough for a nice experiment.
So I just thought you'd have a good solid opinion on that.
If you want Motyl to review these when they come out, tweet at us.
Absolutely.
And let us know.
I'll go out and saturate the market.
Yeah. Well, anything else notable about them?
No, I just thought it was hysterical that they actually are just leaning into, like you said, bad behavior. It's just funny to me.
I mean, that's what kids want to do. They just want to be bad. So I can imagine they see these on TV and they're like, oh, something I could scream at. That sounds amazing.
I did want to get your opinion on whether or not you think that, does this have any kind of legs to be as popular as fingerlings? Or do you think,
I think so.
You think so? Like for Christmas, people are going to be looking for Yellies.
Every time the popular toy, I'm always so surprised by. Yeah. Like fingerlings, I would never pick them. They're dumb. They're boring. And it proves out because a year later, they're everywhere and no one cares. Like kids have moved on to the next thing because it was a small gimmick and then it's done. This is the same thing. It's like it's a dumb, silly gimmick. It's an hour of fun, if that. You yell at it a couple times. It's like, all right, well, my voice hurts. I'm done. And then it's done. Your Yelly sits in the back corner and you forget all about him until like you happen to scream one day by accident and it like triggers on or something, like a horror movie style situation.
Also, you can say the same with Hatchimals.
Oh yeah, same deal. Hatchimals, yeah, like Tickle Me Elmos. They're just like silly gimmicks that are really good for like talk TV, and like all the moms watch talk. I don't know if this is still true. This was true when my mom was buying toys, but they would watch daytime TV, and they would see like Ellen or whoever it was, and they would show the toy, and the mom would crack up and think it was the funniest thing and be like, oh, my kid would love that. And then they go buy it, and then the kid has like a moment of fun with it, and then they're done.
I think it all just kind of it's tying into what you said earlier with like Lego and STEM toys, where it's just like kids want to interact with something and they want it to respond back to them.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is very true.
All like tying in together.
Yeah, I guess that's a craze, or not craze, but just a trend that's been happening since the Furby. That's what, and like Teddy Ruxpin, I guess it goes all the way back to that. But just like something that's smart enough to communicate back, and we saw like the Spider-Man toy last Christmas that was pretty smart. But yeah, I would expect it to continue to just go down that path where like toys have to be smart. It's not enough for the kid to use their creativity. It needs like constant companionship and responses. Yeah, it'll be pretty interesting. I mean, we're never going to be able to talk on a psychological level of what that means about kids today, but I'm sure it's going to pan out in some weird way where we look at that generation, we're like, man, they had the dumbest toys, and they're
agreed.
Yeah, they couldn't just be creative. So maybe we'll just be the creative generation, and I don't know.
That makes me want to look up Furbies, like Gen 1 Furbies. I want to see how much like a Furby goes for.
Well, have you seen that guy that like hacked all the Furbies together to make like a organ, like a musical instrument?
I did not see that.
It's a good YouTube video. Definitely, if you need some YouTube time, go look it up. It's just like guy Furby piano, and you can see it. He just like tears apart like 100 Furbies and wires them up to a piano board, and they all just make different pitches, but they make like horrible Furby noises.
Oh wow!
But he makes music with it.
That's reminded me of those things. I remember we were chasing for like a moment, like
moment.
We were looking for what were you have any idea what those were?
I can't remember what they're called. Sing-alongs, maybe.
Oh, sing-alongs.
Oh man,
it's just like it was like a stuffed animal that like you press their stomach and they'd open their mouths and they'd all sing like a different octave.
Yep.
But it was the same octave.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't change. They can't change notes. But if you had like enough of them, you could press them all at the same time, and it'd be like one complete chord.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we were looking like all over the place for the one like the bass voice.
Oh
the lowest.
He was hard to find.
It was hard to find.
Oh man, yeah. That'll pop back in my head like when I'm going to bed tonight. I'll be like, that's what those are called. Oh man. All right. Do you wanna? That was Yellies. I think we're right into Toys R Us now. You want to chat some Toys R Us?
Yeah. Before that, I just want to say I'm looking at Furby Gen 1 if anybody's interested.
Yeah.
Original 1998. I see the first listing. I see $200 brand new with $25.
There you go. That's not
shipping.
too bad.
No.
If you would just want that good taste of nostalgia, get that for your significant other this year. It's good old Furby.
It'd be interesting, just open it up and just try and like make it your friend.
They'd be terrorized by it again. I'm sure it's so dumb compared to like today's standards of how smart things can be.
Oh, and now I'm looking at sold listings, and they are in package getting sold for like $15, $17, $12
dollars.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead and pick up a couple and make yourself an organ.
There you go. Maybe that's how that dude afforded the organ. Furbies, man. Oh, Singamajigs. That's what they were called.
Singamajigs!
That's what they were called.
Wow, good job, dude.
I noticed something real silly with Sing.
I would have never remembered that. Wow.